Scott Fromey, and welcome to the Backwoodsman's Institute. Tonight what we're going to do is I'm going to can up some deer meat here. Some of the things, if you guys aren't really knowledgeable on canning or haven't done it before, some of the things that you're going to need to do it is a good quality canner, for one. So canning jars, the rings for the canning jars, and the lids to the canning jars. Now these are the regular mouth jars. I got some wide mouths too, but tonight I'm going to use regular ones. So if you're going to do that, make sure that match up your rings and your lids to whatever size opening you have on your jars. Also have some canning salt here. Now the difference between table salt and canning salt, there's actually three different types of salt. There's table salt, canning salt, and curing salt. Table salt most of the time has iodine in it. We don't want to use that. Canning salt, special canning, or salt just for canning and any baking or something like that with. And then you got your curing salts, which is actually it's salt curing bacon and hams and shoulders and stuff like that. So, but you need to just make sure you got some canning salt. The meat that I'm using is the hams off a deer, and basically you're just cubing it up, small cubes. And I already got some on a skillet here. I brown it, and that browning part of it, but you could put it in raw pack, just put it in there and can it. I've done that. It's perfectly fine. Probably not much different. Stew meat is most of the time you're going to do that anyways, but I like to put a little bit of browning on it and put it in a jar, and then actually the water, when I open a jar and get it out, the water and the browning of the meat give it just a different flavor to it, and it really adds to like the gravy. So if I'm going to make a gravy mix or something, I use the water out of the jar. So by browning that helps that just make it flavor a little bit better. So you're not really cooking it all the way, you're just browning it to get it kind of seared, and that searing in there adds to the flavor of it. Like I said, if you're pretty well new to canning or haven't done it, I recommend getting a good book, a canning book. This one is Ball's Blue Book. I'm sure they got different editions. This is probably an old one. I've had this one for years, and I reference this all the time. Canning all fruits, vegetables. It's all in here. It's a really nice book. There's several different books on the market. It's just one that I have, and it works for me, and I keep it here. And you can see it's pretty worn. It gets a lot of use. So, like I said, when I go to the canning, I'll double check it. Even different meats and stews and stuff like that, I can reference that in that book. It tells how long to do it and what pressure to do it in. And so I'll go ahead and finish up browning the meat. And once I get the meat browned up, I got some water going too on the stove, boiling, to put the boiling water in the jars after I pack them with the meat. So let me finish browning up the meat and packing the jars to get back with you. Okay, I got the meat browned, and I got them in the jars. Fill them in the jars. Okay, what you notice here, there's 6 jars here. My canner holds 7. So one of these jars has to be a spacer. If you don't have a full batch, that's no problem. You can always use empty jars as a spacer inside to keep them from rattling around, but put a little bit of water in here just to keep it weight. If not, it just kind of bounces loose while it's boiling. So I'm going to go ahead and get me a paper towel here and wipe the rims off, get them good cleaned up here. And then what I did was I got some water that was boiling ready, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the jars. But first, before I put the water in, I like to put my salt in before the water. Okay, like I said, I got canning salt. I keep it in this one to keep it from getting hard on me once the box is open and seal it. So I just dumped in here 1 teaspoon per quart of canning salt. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Oh, I got this here. This is the difference between a wide mouth and a regular. You can see the difference in the jars. These are kind of nice because they're easier to dump stuff out of or put it in, like if you're canning beets or something like that, or if I'm doing sauerkraut. I like to use a bigger mouths. These, if I go buy some, I usually buy the big ones, but a lot of these here that got the regular mouth on, I pick them up at auctions or yard sales or something like that. So always keep an eye out for canning jars. You can't ever have enough canning jars. Like I said, the rings here, they can be reused over and over again. But the lids, this is the part that actually does the sealing. It's got it's metal on top, but on the inside there's like a little rubber seal on there, and that seal, once it gets after you get it good cooked and everything's sealed, once it starts cooling off, it kind of vacuum seals itself and the lid pops down, and that rubber seal on there helps to hold that pop down in there. So what I'm going to do here is get this rubber kind of softened up a bit. I'm going to put it in some warm water there I had boiling in another little pot, and let that rubber get a little softened up. Okay. So I'll go ahead and start putting water in the jars. Okay, I put the jars in there before I fill it up with water. That's just sometimes the way I do it. Just makes it easier for me. And there's a special, like a funnel here that they sell just for for canning. You can go ahead and, if you're putting liquids in jars, it just makes it easier to do that. So I'll just ladle. Now you don't want to fill the jar completely up. There's a certain spot on there. They call that head space. You want to keep your head space, and that actually, once the jar is filled up, it's usually about to the top of this, where it starts coming in here, where the rings start at. So sometimes they will about an inch or so from the top. It's basically what it is. So that's usually what the head space is, because you got to let room for it to boil. So I just bring it right up to the bottom of that rim. Put some in that one there, just to keep it weighted down.